Hello everyone, in this video we're going to look at how we can design the back end of this bike so it doesn't look like a piece of shit. Hope you enjoy. So, what's happening guys? As I so creepily said at the start of this video, one thing we're focusing on, and it's a design issue that I've not got sorted, is the back end of this bike. So, if we look at normal bikes, well, almost normal bikes, a lot of them have cafe racer loops, and that's absolutely fine, makes a lot of sense. A lot of these old bikes came with just a lot of shit on the back of them that you can cut away and you can really streamline it and make it a nice looking bike. So, the difference I guess is that this bike here, it doesn't have a cafe racer loop. It can be fitted with one, but this one I've decided not to. I've put some additional bracing in and everything else, but I've not decided to do that with this bike this time. And that's because, well, I don't know. I think it's something that differs a little bit from the norm, which is kind of where I'm going with this bike. There's a lot of things on this, man, this looks like a turd at the moment. A lot of things in this bike that I want to do a little bit differently. However, what I would say is, usually a cafe racer loop would terminate, I guess, roughly in line with the centre axle, centre of the rear wheel, and that's quite a lot of space. That, not that you would sit there, not that you, I mean you would take a passenger maybe, but I'm not going to plan to do that. I never take passengers. It's my bike, my freedom, me. So I've not done that. However, what I need to do is figure out, right, if I'm not putting a loop in, then how does the back end of the bike look? Does it look like has it got a mudguard that comes up here? Does the seat sit like this? Is an existing seat base I had from the bike, the XS850 that's next door. But does the seat hang out over like that? I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like that by itself. But would I like that with a mudguard that comes underneath and gives it more depth? So just try not to fall over strewn. But so today's video, I guess this focuses a bit on where are we going with this. Once I clarify that, it's something else that I can tick off the list, and we can get this thing moving a little bit closer to my May 2021 deadline. Alan, don't hold me to that, please. Maybe 2022. No, I'm going to try and get this done. I want this bike. There's a lot of things I want to do this year. There's a lot of things I still want to do with the Scrambler. I've got another XS750. There's bits on this bike that are obviously ambitious and everything else. I could spend the next year working on this. We'll tear it down and we'll do a full nut and bolt restoration. And yes, this will be a high quality build, but there's going to be a bit where I'm like, this. We want to get out and ride it, but also perfection versus time that takes to do everything. There's an end goal in sight for this thing, and it's not to be sat on this bench getting pissed on by my leaky garage roof over the next little while. So yeah, there's a bit of focus to try and get this done, and the May deadline that I think, well, I'm due to be getting a roll offshore soon with my job. Fingers crossed that comes. So it means I'll be away for 3 weeks, but it means I'll be back for 3 weeks as well. So hopefully that gives me a little bit more time just to get after it, rather than piecemeal, a couple of hours here, a couple of hours there. It's amazing how much taking a week off or just taking a few days off and getting a full 8-10 hours on the bike can just drive forward progress. Well, look at these guys that do it full time. That's how they, oh, I built this today and did this and this and this. You're like, that's awesome. I came out to the garage and froze my tits off while shouting at my camera. So we'll get set up and I'll have a little chat through some of the ideas that I think. All right. So I guess for me, with this issue here, the question is, how do we feel comfortable before? Like, how do you get comfortable about making this design and making this design decision? And anyone that saw my half-baked attempt at an illustration of what I want this bike to look like, voila, is that's just done on Photoshop or Autodesk SketchUp or something like that. So I think I probably want to do something along those lines, but it would be nice to get a better feel for dimensions and mudguards and everything else, which may be quite. This is what I have to deal with. Despite me repairing this several times. yeah, how do I get comfortable with my design decision? And that's this video has forced me to do this. I've not got a design decision yet. Therefore, let's make a video about it and hopefully spit something out the other end. Like the same way all of this project has worked. Well, I need to make a video on this, so let's get my yokes moving a little bit more. And these videos are really helping spur me on and get a little bit further. So the bikes, obviously, like I said at the start, most bikes, I guess, have a end of their cafe racer loop finishes at the center point for the wheel. You can see in a few of these pictures in some of this example, and I think that's quite good. I mean, that's how I modelled the Scrambler. That's how I modelled the other XS850 that I've got next door. That's how that's the decision I made with that. That's where I want my loop to be. Where this is a little bit different, as obviously we've cut off the back end. We want to utilise the exposed frame rails to try and make something different with the lights. So that leaves you with a bit of a shorter back end. Just because I had to cut the existing Cafe Racer loop off that was already there. It was really badly welded on, which for me wasn't going to cut it. So I had to cut that existing Cafe Racer loop off. So I'm left with this back end that's just a little bit shorter than would usually be, but I'm wondering whether I can make use of that. So look at these bobbed BMW R models that literally appear every third day in Bike XF, and that's all that guy in Holland chucks out the door, and there's some companies that literally all they do is make the same bike over and over again, and they're nice bikes, don't get me wrong, they're very, very cool, and that's what people want to pay for, fill your boots. However, so those bikes look cool though, and a lot of them have this little bob rear end, and I think that actually adds to the dimension of the bike itself and changes it up a little bit. So what I've not seen really is a Yamaha XS850 or that kind of era bike with a shorter rear end. And I mean, what I don't want is to have a short rear end. I'm going to stop saying short rear end. To have a shortened area at the back of the bike and then nothing else. Like a Brat bike without any mudguards in Scotland doesn't really make sense to me. Yes, if you're riding on 30-degree temperature all year round on nice warm roads, flat roads without anything else, then maybe no mudguards is an okay thing. But for me, having something to maybe catch some dirt makes sense to me, at least. So I want to try and integrate mudguards. I want to try and integrate what I've already got, and it's kind of taking that and making the whole thing. So I've got an existing shoddily made yet something useful, I guess it's fibreglass. What's wrong with me? It is a fibreglass base plate from the XS850 next door. So the dimensions are pretty good, despite the fact it's a bit shitty looking. It's pretty good. So I think what I need to do is take a few pictures with this on the bike, see what we feel like. Take a few pictures with it shortened, take a few more pictures with it even shorter still, till I'm left with this much and a Springer seat. No, I'm not going to do that. But it's going to get shorter, I think. And then plonk my ass on the bike and say, do I feel comfortable with this? Do I want an uplift? Do I not want an uplift? Even if I go down this route, then what do the mudguards look like? Do the mudguards, do they hug the wheel? Do they sit just below the seat? I don't know. It's really something that I'm looking forward to getting this video sorted, because it will hopefully flush out a few of my ideas. So, first of all, let's have a little look at this thing, see what the positioning's like, and then we can start making some drastic cuts. For the record, this video might change to another day because it's about 6:30 in the morning. I'm not going to open the garage door because it's pissing, so I need to cut this stuff. So I need to kind of, yeah, there might be a day change. think now that you see the tank on, actually. There's actually quite a bit of meat. There's some meat for you. Please don't fall. There's quite a bit of meat for you to sit on if we were to cut that there. I think that's going to be okay. I mean, a bobber seat's like that size. So I think what I might do is, we're agreed that this is too long. Well, I'm agreed. You guys can agree and nod along if you want. What I quite like to do though is still retain some shape for this bit. I'll show you. I'll draw on this. I'll show you what I mean. What the hell? Sorry. Here's a real crudely drawn sketch of what I just showed you, where I've kind of shaped the seat to come not to a point, but not as aggressive a loop as not as a lazy a loop as you would normally get. So bike would typically, where the bike stands at the moment, would probably be about there. I'm going to cut that off, and instead of it being a nice lazy loop, we'll probably just don't want a sharp edge in it, but just a little bit more of an aggressive back end maybe. And what that looks like from the side, we can then use the seat shape to our advantage to help build however we want this bike to look. And unfortunately, I'm not going to get a seat built, I guess, for this episode, because I've not really got any material and I don't know whether it'd be wasteful. However, I think if we just get the right length, that might be something we can do. So I'm going to grab a Sharpie and mark out center point on this thing, and then we'll try and trim it, I guess, and that's where I will probably come back another day, so I'm actually not waking up and pissing my neighbours off and getting fiberglass dust everywhere. So we'll go and mark this up, but then we'll probably pick this up another day. Observant of you will have noticed it is a new day, which means we can get cracking on the fiberglass seat base again, and cutting it and making loads of noise and mess and pissing all my neighbours off. So you saw me fucking battery, what the hell? So it was fine. Piece of shit. Anyway, so last video you saw me bending some welding wire to try and get a radius, but actually I had a bit of a thought. I went digging through my parts catalogue, my back catalogue of parts, and I found the original cowling for the XS850, but it's actually got quite a nice radius that sits nicely, and I think that might give me quite a nice shape. So I'm going to try that as a first port of call. It's a little bit wider, and then we'll see how it looks. So I'll set up the GoPro and cut this. So I'm just using a wee Dremel with a cutting disc is fine. Make sure you wear a mask because the stuff is pretty horrible. Once that's done, it's literally a case of fitting on the bike and see what it looks like. I'm not going to do a huge amount more in this video because there's other stuff I can be getting on with, and I think probably there's not, like, what can I do? Yes, I have agreement that the seat base is shorter and everything else. Are we happy with it? If not, then we're back to the drawing board. But the only other thing I'll maybe look at in this video is rear mudguard placement. I've had a little bit of a think about that as well over the past couple of days. So yeah, let's get to this cutting this POS. fact I am a gigantic retard, and I decided to start cutting. Good job, this isn't final, this is just a test piece. I haven't even had a beer yet. Fucking hell. Right. Hopefully you can see this. I think this looks alright. It's a nice shape, and I actually quite like that curve. What I don't like, and what I've got an idea, is looking at this now, it kind of sits, it's quite abrupt. It's very much a, here's my straight edge. I just don't know. I think it looks good, like I think the length of the seat and everything else looks awesome, but I think I've got an idea where, and I don't know if this is bold or whether people do it or not, we can cut this. Once this is obviously, this radius needs to be made better and cleaner and everything else, which is just quick and dirty, but we could cut this on a curve, kind of like, if we, for God's sake, what's wrong with this? Can we see that? Okay, what I'm thinking is try and put a curve on. Try and put a curve on the end that kind of matches the seat. I don't know if that's going to work or not. It means my light idea goes out the window. But God, I think that would look badass. Because, yes, you've still got quite a sharp bit at the side, but you've got like an extra feature where you would have a round kind of bit from where you've just cut it, and then you could mount the LEDs further in here. Still use the same idea. Still use the same idea, but instead of it mounting on the side here, it's just a cylinder, a 20mm, 18mm cylinder that goes in further with a grub screw in the bottom. Dunno. That could be quite cool. But I think it looks alright. So, yeah, we'll see. Jesus Christ. Okay, so I think that might actually be quite a cool idea, that cutting the back end. Like I said, I didn't have a clear direction as to where this bike would go, and this episode has helped kind of, you've seen the thought process behind it, and it's literally, that looks like a good idea, could we do something with that? I do like that idea. I think that's going to be quite neat. I need to have a think about, it's not set in stone yet, I maybe have a think about it just a little bit more off camera, but I do kind of like, I like the length of the seat, I like that it's a bit shorter, I can put a bit of thickness into it. And then with this, the mud guards, for example, there's been a few different types I've seen. There's the type that you see on the Scrambler, that I made this, and it's made out of fibreglass, and it sits tightly underneath the Scrambler that you can see in this picture, and that suits that perfectly. Thought about that for this bike, but for whatever reason, I don't know, I'd maybe quite like to do a more traditional style mudguard, which then at least you think, how do you mount that? Do you mount that off the bike, like in this picture here, like that waltz work one, where it kind of ties to the bottom of the bike itself, like the bottom of the frame, and then somewhere so it's offset? It's quite a distinct feature. Or do you have it hugging nice and close to the bike tyre? And me personally, I would like it probably hugging close to the tyre, and then have it fitted and mounted. So I think there's a few points on the back of the bike that I can utilise to build mounts to mount this mudguard on. Like the rear brake, for example, has got this weird mechanism that holds the brake in place, and I've identified there's a point there I could potentially use to hold it on. There's maybe a point at the front of the bike that I could weld something to on the swing arm itself, and then and weld a little threaded boss that I could then thread a mudguard hold onto. So I like how it looks. I think what I would probably do is just buy a big mudguard. For another project, I'd love to try and learn how to do some metal shaping, but that needs a bit of expense in terms of tools and everything else, and access to English wheels and whatnot. I just don't really have that, and I think I'll just buy it. Oh God, it's sacrilege me saying that. I'm going to buy something, but I've just seen something really weird. And this is, the bike was called Panther before this. This is really weird. On the tank that I've bought. Looks kind of like a panther. I'm pretty sure it's some kind of weird. Yeah, that's weird. Sorry, I digress. That was creepy. So yes, I think the mudguard I will buy, and I will shape, and I will make my own mounts, and I'll try and figure out how to fit them. And then, yes, we're getting closer. So I'm going to go do some work off camera, just a few design decisions, because it's just me staring at the bike endlessly. That's not really going to make some that entertaining content. So I'm going to love you and leave you, and I'll catch up with you guys in the next video. If you've got any questions or comments, then just like the comments, leave me a comment below, and subscribe if you haven't already. Better subscribe. And then, yeah, catch up with you guys in the next episode. Take it easy.